Hello, I'm Gator McKlusky, and this is the Burt Reynolds story, Chapter 3.
Well, Gator McKlusky is sitting on a stump with the hammer pulled back on the 12-gauge pump, watching that swamp, looking out for the law. Well, it makes the best corn that you ever saw. Right, good whiskey.
I think, I'm not real positive about this because there's a big debate going on about this in America. I think I'm a real good actor.
Oh, shit! Oh. Woo! Hey, Burt Reynolds' career exploded with his most iconic film, Smokey and the Bandit.
Let's all ask him.
After finishing The Longest Yard, his path to the Bandit was preceded by a slew of poorly reviewed, disappointing films that can be difficult to watch.
With some measure of success.
Are you singing to me, sir?
No, I was singing to myself.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead, sir.
After losing out to Jack Nicholson for the lead in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Burt took on a Cary Grant-type role for the musical At Long Last Love, directed by Peter Bogdanovich.
They play that on airplanes and people go right out the window.
The film was a tremendous bomb, but the director always felt cheated about the version that was released in the theater.
It was a terrible mistake. I was rushed into opening it. Everybody in the studio loved it. It was a big mistake.
The singing in the film was all live and not overdubbed as it would be for most musicals.
It's the Rhapsody.
It's the revolution.
It's the Rhapsody.
It's the regal.
It's the royal.
It's the Ritz.
Maybe if we'd have had a little thing in the bottom of the screen that said this was done live, we might have gotten some credit.
And it was my fault and the studio's fault for rushing me. We should have taken more time to open it. It was a mess.
Burt worked for 4 months to prepare his singing voice.
I've had every thrill from a Rolls Royce to a Ford.
He wasn't meant to be a great singer in the picture. We just wanted him to sound good and act the songs, which was the point of it.
It's the Lottie.
Wasn't looking for Fred and Ginger, because the picture's also a spoof, kind of an affectionate send-up of musicals.
He loved his time working with Sybil Shepherd and the great Madeline Kahn. They stayed close friends and later worked together in City Heat.
Oh, God, is she all right?
Burt again worked with Bogdanovich on the film Nickelodeon, and the results were not much better.
And I shouldn't have made the picture, really. It actually made some money. It wasn't a bomb, but it was perceived as a flop.
Jump!
Jump! You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Bogdanovich was trying to make a film in the spirit of Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton, and wanted the film to be released in black and white, but the studios at the time were not willing to take that artistic chance.
It was a big disappointment to me, and I'd made 2 films in a row that had been compromised, and I said, screw this.
And these directors you work with today, they don't know their left from the right.
Director John G. Avildsen, best known for Rocky, was at the helm of Burt's next film, W.W. and the Dixie Dance Kings.
W.W. was a thrill for me.
An uneven comedy about a slick con man who ducks the law by managing a country western band.
You think they got anything going for them?
Best thing they got going for them is you, cutie pie. That combination of horse manure and sincerity like you got.
She's right.
And Art Carney played the man who was trying to hunt me down.
You mean I can go?
Get thee behind me, Satan.
And I never had that much fun with anybody. I had to try to find him once in a while in the massage parlor.
What's the matter?
Burt was not a fan of director Avildsen.
He was an arrogant prick.
I tried to get him drunk one night just to see if there was any change. Wasn't any change.
He felt Avildsen hadn't done his homework for the picture and didn't really understand the South.
That's perfect.
The great Mel Tillis always struggled all his life with a stutter.
Yeah, you want Ethel? If she's working.
Oh.
One night after a take, Avildsen turned to Mel and said, "Cut the stutter." "What?" I said. "Cut the stutter. It isn't working for me." Let's go outside, John. I need to talk to you, I said.
A furious Burt pulled the director aside and grabbed him by the throat.
It took everything I had not to kill him. You can't tell Mel Tillis to cut the stutter. He has a speech impediment.
Did was make it pretty. It ain't running worth the shit.
During this altercation, Mel grabbed a bottle of brandy and got himself a little bit drunk. By the time Burt and Avildsen had gotten back to the set, Tillis was no longer stuttering.
We did more takes, and he said his lines perfectly. Avildsen looked to me like I was some kind of a maniac.
I bet you think that's the end of WW. Well, it ain't.
Good morning, good morning.
For Burt, the best thing to come out of WW was meeting his partner in crime, the one and only snowman, Mr. Jerry Reed.
Anybody want a wing? Nobody wants a wing. We don't want your wing. We don't want your money. That silly-looking car you drive.
And we just had a wonderful experience doing that picture, and we all got to know Burt.
The two became close friends, and their bond would unite them on several films, including the biggest of Burt's long career.
What are we gonna do, kidnap the Pope or something? How'd you guess?
You can't help but smile when seeing these two interact.
I caught a cold today, and it's not good.
I didn't think stars had codes at their doors.
Well, my nose doesn't know it's on a star's face.
They absolutely light up the screen whenever they share any frame together.
We have a relationship that's very similar in some ways to me and Hal. He's crazy, but crazy good.
Well, you must be the new bouncer.
Yeah.
When Burt was preparing for his directorial debut, he had Jerry in mind for perhaps the most important role in his first film.
A couple of pretty good bouncers you got there. I just bounced one off of the wall and one right through the window for you.
He called me up. He said, would you like to play the heavy in Gator? So I thought about it, and I said, well, you know, if you'll help me, I'll do it. And he helped me. Oh, well, I'd never made it without Burt.
Meet the dearest friend I got in the world, Mr. Gator McKlusky. Bones. Ask him why they call him Bones.
Why do they call you Bones?
Because I tell him to.
You can see the love from Jerry toward Burt and his parents in this 1981 televised tribute.
If I can take a minute to speak to Miss Fern and Bud Sr., I'd like to say thank you for giving our country a hero. I love this man very much. Stand up, somebody's gonna hug your neck.
The script was wonderful.
Burt spent almost a year on the film Lucky Lady.
It takes a long, long time to shoot a picture like this.
I thought it would take maybe half my life, not my entire life.
Oscar winners Gene Hackman and Liza Minnelli helped set the stage for what should have been movie magic.
The real surprise is Burt. In this, he plays a character that he's never played before.
It's very different for me because it's a very unphysical guy, and everybody knows what a physical person I am.
It's about three people who fall in love and spend the rest of their lives making a movie.
Lucky Lady could have been something special, but for Burt, this was just another in a long string of box office disasters.
Because I just love to kill you bootlegging bastards.
And it just didn't quite work.
Just keep your head down.
It was enormously unrewarding.
All right, throw down your gun, you hijacking bastards! Not yet, you stupid! I told you to wait, now you...
The studio wasn't happy that Burt didn't rave about the film in interviews.
I think if you're that way with an audience, always tell them. Then when you say to them, this picture's good, they'll believe you.
I will never, ever do a picture with boats again. In fact, when this picture's over, I'm going to take an oar and walk inland. And the first person that says to me, what the hell is that? I'm going to say, I'm going to live here.
After several lighthearted films failed to find an audience, Burt reunited with his longest yard director, Robert Aldridge, on the crime drama Hustle.
Get him out of here, Charlie!
I found the script from a book called The City of Angels by Steve Shagan, which became Hustle.
The cast included some terrific actors in Ben Johnson, Paul Winfield, Eddie Albert, and Ernest Borgnine.
The coroner said suicide. Anything else?
Yeah. You ought to lay off that carrot juice. I hear if you drink enough of it, your balls fall off.
The film also introduced American audiences to French actress Catherine Deneuve, who had enormous chemistry with Burt.
This is your Roto-Rooter, man. Your plumbing's stuck.
Bingo.
The film centers around a grieving father and his daughter's mysterious suicide.
In this scene, I want to set up, we go in and to see his dead daughter in the morgue. We played a joke on Ben. I didn't know about the joke either.
What should have been a very powerful scene actually turned hilarious in this unexpected practical joke.
Kiss me.
The film did decent business, but Burt's friend John Wayne explained to him why they may have made a mistake with the ending of the picture.
The word got out that I die in the picture. I saw John Wayne. He said, "You got a hit." I said, "Yeah, I hear you die." Yes, sir, I do. I get killed." And he said, "You can't die. There's people that America doesn't want to die. Me, you. Picture's going right in the dumper."
It was an unknown actor at the time, Robert Englund, famous for playing Freddy Krueger in several Nightmare on Elm Street movies, that killed Burt's character off at the end of the picture, ending a string of 4 poorly reviewed films Burt completed in 1975. After breaking up with Dinah Shore, Burt was attached to several famous women in the 70s. He dated Judy Garland's daughter, Lorna Luft, country western sensation Tammy Wynette, Lucy Arnaz, the famous daughter of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, and tennis superstar Chris Evert.
Burt Reynolds, who's a fan of Christine Marie Everts.
See, we had a lot in common, both of us. We love sports. Chris was a doll.
Chris had a difficult traveling schedule, and Burt tried to keep up with her, so despite great chemistry, the relationship ended quickly.
I admired the hell out of that young woman. She was all class.
Mel Brooks asked Burt to do a small part in the 1976 comedy Silent Movie.
The thing I have the most fun doing is kidding myself. So make me a movie star with his name on the top of his house.
You'll know my house because it has Burt Reynolds and lights and gate.
I saw him completely naked. No big thing.
In this hilarious scene, Burt is joined by Mel Brooks, Dom DeLuise, and the great Marty Feldman.
We were in the shower together.
In the movie.
I know.
Silent movie.
Silent movie.
But
I remember your hand.
And my job was to soap up your back.
That's right.
And we did it 4 times, you know?
Yeah.
The first time I was like this, the second time I said like this, the third time, the 4th time I just... He's got the smallest bunch in the world. I have a wallet bigger than that.
But seriously, folks, how about that?
Oh my God! That's Gator McKlusky!
Burt was asked to return to the role of Gator McKlusky in the sequel to White Lightning titled Gator.
The only way I'd agree to play the good old boy whiskey runner Gator McKlusky again was to also let me get behind the camera.
This was Burt's first time as director, an opportunity he had waited many years for.
I remember when the cameraman said to me, "Where do you want the camera?" I said, "I think pointed towards the actors would be good." We tried it that way, and it seemed to work.
It was Burt's friend Orson Welles who gave him some good directing advice.
Orson gave me the best advice. He said, "The first shot in the movie is the most important shot in the movie."
Oh, shit!
Burt went on to direct several other films, including The End, Sharky's Machine, and Stick. But the acting opportunities kept preventing him from becoming a full-time director.
And it led me to think this is what I want to do. I want to direct films. I got busy as an actor. And it's ironic, I got busy as an actor because of the success of Gator, and that was what kept me acting, was I got better scripts and I actually got some parts that weren't all about the South.
Mr. McKlusky.
Nice ass.
Fashion model Lauren Hutton plays a TV reporter in this, her first big role.
She was a little crazy, which I like. I like a little crazy, and she was crazy good. She liked to flash the crew.
You charmed the shirt right off my back.
And she would go, "Is everybody happy?" And they said yes. And she'd go, "How about now?" The crew, of course, was crazy about her and wanted to be flashed again, you know.
One day, they can be real easy. And in the next day, they can be bad.
The role of Bama McCall was a stretch for Jerry, but Burt had all the confidence in the world for him to become this villainous bad guy.
What the hell is that?
That's to make them blacks easy.
He was a great heavy. He had the smarts to do it charming.
Oh, you sure having a good time off that Jungle Bones put in your drink. Did you put something in my drink?
Yellows. Yo, he's making me mad.
He's making me mad.
I asked him, who is the badass in your school?
I'm kidding.
And he said, a guy named Bama McCall.
Bama McCall. McCall.
And I said, okay, that'll be your name.
I like Gator. I think Jerry Reed was extraordinary. When I watch the picture now, I think I'd work for that director.
Oh, shit.
Now, once again, Hal Needham handled the stunts on this film, and just like in White Lightning, Needham got banged up pretty badly.
He just came within inches of getting killed.
Burt jumps onto this pickup truck, but it was Hal Needham who was there for this dangerous stunt with Burt's character getting thrown as the vehicle flips over.
He was just laying there, turned him over, and he smiled and said, how was it?
My name's Smiley.
No shit.
Nope.
The close-ups in films are reserved for great actors like Burt, but the big action wide shots are for the stunt people. That's why Burt trusted his good friend Hal Needham to always make him look good.
I only have one God-given talent, and that was to fall on my head. And I'm thankful for that because it allowed me to meet Burt Reynolds some 20-some-odd years ago.
It was on Riverboat where Burt first met Needham.
I said, who am I doubling? I said, go down to the set and find somebody dressed like you, and that's who you're doubling. And I got down there, and it was Burt.
And he was going to be doubling me, and I thought, hell, I can do that.
The two became friends and worked closely together on countless pictures.
It was a nice ride. My right ear I'm donating to Yale University.
Well, Hal was my roommate. He lived with me for quite a few years. There wasn't anybody better. He was the best stuntman in the world, I think. Definitely the best stuntman in Hollywood.
Hal was the stunt coordinator on The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing, White Lightning, The Longest Yard, WW and the Dixie Dance Kings, Lucky Lady, Gator, Nickelodeon, and The End.
They'd have a stunt, and everybody would say, that can't be done. I'd turn them down. And then somebody would say, call Needham, and he would do it.
You see, Hal wasn't just the stunt coordinator on these pictures. He would also take the directing chair for any and all dangerous action sequences and was often the first one to jump into a situation when things went wrong.
You know, when you're in the fire suit, you lose track of time. You get your mind on so many things, and you have no way of communicating with anybody. I knew that he only had 4 minutes of air and that it was about up.
We did all kinds of gags together that we later put in films. Every stunt he did was close to buying a farm, you know.
Burt did many of his own stunts in films, but there was a limit to what producers would actually allow the star to be at risk.
He'll do just damn near anything you want done. Really and truly, he doesn't draw the line. I've seen him do some things that were just flat scary. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Ooh, that's good.
It wasn't until Smokey and the Bandit when Hal Needham finally sat in the director's chair and made one of the top-grossing films of all time.
I wrote Smokey and the Bandit. I was doing a film with Burt down in Georgia called Gator. That's the thread that put Smokey together.
In Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt's character was loosely based on Hal Needham.
After doing second unit work for all that time, he did Smokey and the Bandit. Actually, one of the most enjoyable first directed features ever made.
Hal went on to direct Burt in 2 Smokey and the Bandit films, Hooper, The Cannonball Run 1 and 2, Stroker Ace, an episode of BL Striker, and Hard Time, Hostage Hotel.
He really was an amazing man.
If you can make them laugh and show them some action, good action, believable action, I think you got a winner.
Hal died in 2013, shortly after being diagnosed with cancer.
They think because you're a stuntman that you're a Superman, that you don't burn, you don't break, and do all these things.
He lived to be 82, the same age as his dear friend Burt.
I'll always cherish his friendship and his work. I couldn't tell you what the story is of Smokey and the Bandit if you put a gun to my head.
When Hal Needham presented Burt with his script for Smokey and the Bandit, it wasn't easy to break the news to his friend that his writing needed a lot of work.
Burt looked at it and he said, Hal, he said, that's the worst dialogue I've ever read in my life.
Any guy that would paint his truck like this would go to a minister's funeral dressed in feathers.
But he said the overall concept is pretty good. He said, if you can take my name power and go get the money, and if somebody is fool enough to let you direct it, says you can direct it.
Break a one, break a one. This is the Bandit, this is Snowman out there. Am I hitting you, son?
Taking on another film in the Southern genre surrounded by car chases was not really what Burt wanted at the time.
I didn't want to play good old boys for the rest of my life.
See, Burt claimed he was offered an Academy Award type role, but he turned it down to do Smokey and the Bandit.
It wasn't a question of money.
Okay, how much money did you say it was?
I promised Hal that I'd do this film.
$1,000.
He was such a big star then that he was able to get this picture made with a script that basically had no dialogue and a first-time director.
I mean, he put his career, his everything on the line so that I could have a shot at directing this.
Hal was given a tiny budget of $4.3 million, $1 million of which was Burt's salary. So the next big challenge was to find their Buford T. Justice.
They wanted Richard Boone, who was a wonderful actor and would have been good, but he didn't have the humor that Jackie had, of course, and nobody did.
We sent him a script.
There wasn't any script. I never had a line of dialogue written.
He called and he said, what makes you think I would do this script? Mr. Gleason, I said, I love your work. I think it's a funny part for you. He says, I'll do it.
That's an attention getter.
That's all there was to it.
Happens every time one of those dancers start poontanging around with those showfolk fags.
Having Gleason play the sheriff was wild and chancy. That's what I loved about it.
The director would stick his head in the window of the car and say, now we have to go up to the thing and you'll see him there. What do you want to say? And I'd think for a second. I said, how about
you some bitches couldn't close an umbrella?
He says, great. Okay, let's go.
Burt's father was a police officer and gave Jackie one of his iconic lines in the picture.
You some bitch.
And all my life, he said, some bitch. And I told Jackie, and Jackie said, did he say some bitch?
You some bitch!
I said, yeah, he always says some bitch. He don't say son of a bitch. And I said, no, he says some bitch.
Some bitch!
And so Jackie said some bitch in the picture.
Shut up one shit at a time!
And it became like part of the Southern lexicon. I mean, now you hear some bitch all the time.
Where are you, you some bitch?
I had never had a scene with Burt Reynolds. I had to sit down and write one. That was the scene in the lunchroom.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a goddamn hurry.
After they shot the scene in the diner, Burt told Hal that he wasn't going to do any more scenes with Jackie, so they had to rewrite the script. Either Burt no longer wanted to share screen time with the iconic actor, or perhaps he felt this scene was so perfect and should represent their only meeting in the film.
Was he a bank robber? Look, brother. Bank robbing his baby kid alongside of what this dude is doing.
I think that Burt could be a very great comedian. He's got a quality that is very important to comedy. He can look at you and say something, and then he gives you the attitude that he's saying, who, me? And that's a great quality for someone who wants to do comedy. I believe he could be a great comedian.
There are a few films in movie history that introduced their leading character in such a memorable way.
I remember the first shot that I had my cowboy hat down and I was in the hammock. And they said, okay, roll him. I lifted the hat up. And it was the most visceral laugh I've ever had, the most real laugh.
Oh, I love your suits. It must be a bitch getting a size 68 extra fat and a 12 dwarf.
God. Thanks, Burt.
I'd like to kick his ass just once.
I know there were a lot of short actors you could have called. I'm really glad you called me.
Burt has a love affair with the audience. People like Burt Reynolds.
In another movie moment that cements Burt's charm, there's no other actor that could have made this scene so special.
I pulled in behind the John and the cop went by and I pulled ahead a little bit more.
So you start easing forward and I'll tell you when to stop. And when I tell you to stop, you can be right across from the camera, then just look at it and smile and drive out.
And then drove off. Everybody laughed. The crew laughed, everybody laughed. And I backed up because I figured we're going to do another one. And Hal said, that's it. And I went, boy, you got some cojones, man. That's breaking the fourth wall, you know. He went, the what?
Matter of fact, I don't think Burt wanted to do it. He did, and I thought it worked like a charm. Well, you know what he's doing? He's saying, look at all the fun we're having, you know?
You can't drive a forklift. Oh, I can drive any forking thing around.
There was a time when Jerry Reed was actually considered for the role of the Bandit, But once Burt committed to the part, Jerry was the first choice for Bo Darville's partner in crime.
You all right? Very funny, very funny.
I thought it was funny.
And they had fits with me.
He's so full of energy.
Hell, I got to go.
Be still, Reed.
My gosh, he's full of energy.
Get on the mark, Reed. We were doing Smokey and the Bandit and Hal Needham. He said, open the lens, open the lens.
When Burt said he'd do it, I called and I said, hey, Jerry, you know about playing Bandit? Yeah, I said, you're now the snowman.
But I had to learn that the idea is not to reach, but let the camera come to you, see him.
Smokey and the Bandit never would have worked without one of the most perfect theme songs ever written for a film.
No, he wrote Eastbound and Down in about an hour.
Eastbound and Down was not nominated for an Oscar, but you'll have a hard time finding a song more important to a film than Jerry's classic theme.
And I said, Reed, what are you going to do about our music? He said, in the morning. Next morning he come out, hey, partner, listen to this. Dun, 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 dun. Propped up there and he sang Eastbound and Down.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, he just did it.
Oh, if you don't like it, I can change it. I said, you change one word, one note, I'll choke you.
Paul Williams, who plays Little Enos, was best known for being one of the greatest songwriters of all time. He wrote Barbra Streisand's Evergreen, The Carpenters' We've Only Just Begun, and Three Dog Night's Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song, to mention a few. So a compliment from the great Paul Williams is about as good as it gets.
The whole Eastbound and Down song is just so perfect. The freedom and that feel, it's in the song and it's in the movie. And I think you have to take your hat off to Jerry for that.
You done good, didn't you, Fred?
Jerry Reed spends most of his time in the picture with Fred, the most famous basset hound on film.
We're gone, killer.
For a PR stunt, the studio set up a dog show and let Burt pick the dog he wanted to be in the movie. There were quite a few breeds to choose from that day.
The next day, there was not a dog in the dog pound. We was in a park and it was just a sea of dogs out there. Burt said, that's your dog, and that's how he got in the movie.
Now, Bo, I'm telling you, Fred ain't gonna be no problem.
I can see he's going to be a major asset.
Holy. Oh, wait, 1 minute. Here we have.
Another challenge in rounding out this great cast was finding Burt's leading lady.
They were going through all kinds of casting things. And I said, I want Sally Field. And they said, Sally Field isn't sexy. I said, really?
Nice ass. Thanks a lot.
Her talent, she's so talented, makes her sexy.
Once shooting began, Sally saw me in a whole different light. I think she was shocked that I knew what a 40 lens was.
Several weeks into shooting, Sally approached Burt with something she had discovered on set.
You're directing this movie, aren't you?
Burt had explained to her that although it may seem that way, Hal was still directing the film, but he was doing his part to help the actors. He then asked her why she brings this up.
No reason. Like everyone in Hollywood, I'm just trying to figure out why you are who you are.
Burt and Sally had a special connection on screen, and that was one of the many reasons why the film was so beloved by audiences.
I think the Bandit covers up his vulnerability and his sensitivity with a lot of braggadocio and fancy shirts, because I think basically he's rather shy.
Do what I do best.
What's that?
Show off.
Yeah. You do that well.
Audience always enjoys thinking they're watching two people fall in love in a movie, and they were. And I knew I really could fall in love with her. In fact, I knew I already had.
Honey, hush.
Does Burt try to put the make on you? No, we wish. But no, we're more or less hoping that he'll let us put the make on him.
I did all the driving except the jump over the bridge. I was under a tree then, hiding my face.
Stunt woman Janet Brady filled in for Sally Field on both Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper.
She's driving. We go over the wall and we land in a Little League baseball game. And she just panicked.
As you hit the ramp and you turn the wheel and turn the car, you worry a little if you're going to get it over or not.
I mean, we were full out flying. And I saw kids in front of the car disappear. And I was waiting for that. We went right over them. Two mothers fainted. And then we went through it all. We got out the other side. I didn't need to yell at her or anything. She was beating herself up pretty good.
My hat flew off, Daddy. I hope your goddamn head was in it.
The film went on to gross over $250 million worldwide.
What makes audiences like that film is that you're watching people have the time time of their life, and they're not faking it.
Look over your left shoulder.
That picture was never work to me, just fun.
Only Star Wars had managed to keep Smokey from the top spot that year, and that's pretty good company.
Is the second highest grossing motion picture in the history of the motion picture business.
I'm glad it was, because it was a picture that wasn't made for the critics, it was made for the people.
The critics didn't embrace the picture, but Smokey and the Bandit had broken through to an audience Hollywood didn't even know they had.
Smokey proved it wasn't just a moonshine picture whose appeal was limited to good old audiences south of the Mason-Dixon line.
I bet I've seen that movie 200 times.
Thanks for the ride, Bandit.
I'm gonna catch you. And when I catch you, I'm gonna put you behind bars for the rest of your life. And then when you die, I'm gonna put you in a box. And I'm gonna put you behind bars for the rest of your natural death.
The cast of Smokey and the Bandit, along with their brilliant first-time director, made a film that would change Burt Reynolds' career for many years to come.
I think that probably 20 years from now, these stunting performances, as you call them, will be considered minor works of art.
Today, most consider Smokey and the Bandit a film classic.
And they'll say, those were damn good films. For what they were. They weren't trying to be anything other than what they were. But for what they were terrific.
See, at that time, Burt really wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, but fortunately, his good friend Hal Needham derailed his aspirations for another good old boy Southern picture.
I'm shooting for a Casablanca, and you know what I'll do when I get my Casablanca? I'll go right back and make a Smokey and the Bandit.
I was a young boy when Smokey and the Bandit was first released, and all my friends wanted that black Trans Am. Lucky for me, my older brother scored one, and I was a frequent passenger.
Pontiac's sales went up 600%. So the president of Pontiac said, Mr. Reynolds, I'm going to give you a brand new Pontiac every year for the rest of your life. It was fabulous. But I didn't know it meant the rest of his life. He died 2 years later.
As the infamous cosmopolitan spread may have hurt Burt's chances of winning an Oscar for Deliverance, Smokey and the Bandit may have prevented Burt from being taken seriously again as an actor, something he'd be challenged with for years to come. But in the end, Burt cherished his experience on what would be considered his most popular film of all time.
The one I'd say that I had the most fun on was Smokey and the Bandit, because I had Jerry, who I loved so much, and Gleason, who was my idol, and I fell in love. Who can ask for anything more?
We're on our way to Boston to get some clam chowder. Bye-bye.
Billy Bob Thornton said, you know, down south, we consider Smokey and the Bandit a documentary.
All right, as we lock up another chapter of the Burt Reynolds story, I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for all of your support and kind words. Smokey and the Bandit was definitely the film that cemented me, along with millions of others, as a big, huge Burt Reynolds fanatic, and I am proud of that to this day. It's the film that made him a superstar. You know, it's one of those classics that you say, I would never change a thing, but there is actually one thing in the film that I would change, and it's this guy.
Yeah, but Sheriff, he's getting away.
Son, he's not going anywhere.
He is awful. That's all I can say. Just awful. So look, Chapter 4 is coming. Hope you tune in. Hope you subscribe to my channel. It's going to be a lot more of the big films that he did in the 70s right up until the 80s. It's also him trying to rekindle some of that Smokey and the Bandit magic, along with chasing after an Oscar, taking some more serious roles. So tune in for that. Subscribe to my channel. Click that notification bell so you know when the next one arrives, and it helps support the channel. It helps support me. It makes me want to do more of this. Let me know what you think. Write a comment. I'll read it. I'll reply. Thanks again. See you next time. Gator out. Watch for new movie reviews and documentary series. Don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell so you know when new reviews arrive.